Here's another tree in the birch family, the one in the foreground. This one is the Ostrya virginiana. So leaves are very similar to the yellow or black birch. The sapling, a tree that's say less than an inch in diameter, is going to look almost identical to the other 6 species that I said are in this birch group and are on your list for this week. But as it matures, you'll notice the bark becomes it's best described as shreddy. It's kind of a brownish gray. This one has some lichen on it, so that's what the black is. But it really begins to develop a stringy appearance as the outer pieces of bark kind of loosen and flake off into these long vertical strips, and it almost looks like it's been scratched. So a friend of mine describes it as having an appearance like a cat has scratched it and loosened up all the bark and shredded it into these long thin strips. So Ostrya virginiana is kind of a common tree in our eastern forest. It never becomes a dominant part of the forest except in really specific situations. But it's a relatively common understory tree, often growing on a little bit drier upland site. This one is about the same size as some of the birches I've showed you, about 5 inches in diameter. I'm going to walk over down this old cart road through our woods and show you a larger Ostrya. So this one is probably 10, 11 inches in diameter. And hopefully you can see this shreddy appearance to the bark. How it loosens into these vertical strips. It has kind of a scratched appearance to it. There's a row of holes drilled in this one by a yellow-bellied sapsucker. So anytime you see those small bore holes like that, kind of arranged in a line that's made by the sapsucker, the yellow-bellied sapsucker is a woodpecker species. It's pretty common here in the Northeast, and they'll make these holes on the stem. This one has lots of them. And get the sap. They will eat some of the sap, and they also eat the insects that are attracted to the sap when it oozes out of the holes. I'm going to get a little bit closer and look up, and hopefully the lines in the shreddiness will come through. It's a little bit dark in here under the canopy. This is another Ostrya virginiana. Sometimes called ironwood, sometimes called hop hornbeam. It has a bunch of common names.